Do you know what a cordyceps is? I didn't either until 20 minutes ago. It's a family of thousands of different types of fungus, grows all around the world in various rainforests and jungles. The awful thing about them is that they're parasitic. They grow on other animals. An ant happens to run into some spores, and then it starts to colonize his insides, starting with his brain. At some point, the ant starts to act visibly ill, standing in place and shivering or walking in circles. If a fellow colony member sees him in his condition, he will be dragged to the border of the colony and exiled. Then, when it's almost over, the ant weakly climbs as high as he can up the vines and locks his body on tight. Finally, he dies, and the fungus emerges from the back of his head, bursting forth like a long and foul fruit. After a short time, the little stalk spews forth its own spores, leaving the mummified and broken ant clinging to the stalk, his eye cavities filled with drying fungus. I mention this because last night, up on the roof of my apartment complex, I found my brother's body. He'd been back from 18 months on duty in the Philippines for less than 3 days. This was the first time I'd seen him. My parents called me up the day before yesterday to tell me he was on his way up. They told me he'd stayed in his room since he'd gotten home, and then suddenly got up and announced he was on his way to see me. They thought he was drunk. I thought he'd never made it. He must have come straight up to the roof and died by the smell of it. I was just finishing a cigarette, all torn up with anxiety and head throbbing, and when the arid smoke vanished, I caught a whiff of rot on the hot wind. It took me just a few minutes before I found him, face down behind the vents and fans. A slimy gray column rose up obscenely from the base of his skull, and a frozen waterfall of roots and tendrils was dangling from his eye sockets and mouth. At the top of the stalk was a small arrangement of feathery wisps, of white powder drifting idly from its tips. The spores must have been drifting over the north side of the building all day. My side of the building. I came down to my apartments to try and call up the police, and my headache was rising to a feverish throb. I got through the door, and the moment I reached for the phone, pain flared up in my hand, so bad I almost passed out. I've since tried 3 times, and I can never get my hand up on it. The same thing happens when I try to get up and leave the room. I feel spines of ice tunneling up into my skull, and my limbs lock up and shudder. The ants, in their last moments, crawl as high up on the vines as they can climb. This is so the spores spread over more of the colony below. In the end, the parasite controls the ant with an almost intelligent drive. God help me. The pain is almost blinding now, and a new thought has been rising up rhythmically in my head, like a record skipping. Up, up, up. It's joined by an image of my office tower. It's taller than my apartment, the tallest place I can think of, and although the bulge on the back of my neck is the size of a peach, the skin stretched shiny. I'm dizzy, and my eyes are cloudy. I think I can make it up there. Up. No, I'm sick. I need help. The building pulses again in my mind. The cold wind, the roof and the sky. Those images and concepts dull the pain momentarily as they pass through my mind. I think I can get up there. Up, up. If you live in downtown Chicago, I would get the fuck out.